The air smelled like burning silver. That was the scent of Girani, incense sharp, cold, and nothing like earth. Corporal Jace Carter stood still, shoulders stiff, dressed in ceremonial armor that looked like it belonged to a museum. It was too tight around his neck, and the alien silk itched his skin. Still, he tried to look calm. All around him stood towering aliens with violet skin, glowing eyes, and long robes that shimmered like stars. The Girani were not a warm species. They didn't smile. They didn't clap. They only watched, silent, unreadable. Today they watched him. The marriage ceremony was nearly over. Princess Kayla Argentai stood beside him. She was over 8 feet tall, built like a warrior queen from an old legend. Her long silver hair was tied in braids that touched the floor, and her face wore no emotion. She looked down at Jace like he was a strange animal, not dangerous, just confusing. Jace knew this wedding was political. Earth and Jaren had been at war for 2 years. Skirmishes in deep space, border raids, and one terrible battle that left thousands dead on both sides. Then came a ceasefire, then peace talks, and finally, the wedding. A marriage between a human soldier and a Girani princess, living symbol of peace. But Jace hadn't expected to be the groom. He was just a translator and former field officer, chosen because he had once spared Kylara's life during a battlefield standoff. He remembered that moment, clearly lowering his weapon, letting her walk away. A stupid choice at the time. Now it had made him a husband. A Girani priest spoke, in a low hum. Then came a silence. "It is done," the priest said in Galactic Common. Jace blinked. That was it? No kiss, no rings, not even a handshake? Kylara turned to him. Her eyes glowed faintly purple, like distant lightning storms. She nodded once. "You are now my mate," she said flatly. "Right. Same here." Jace muttered. 100 nobles stared at him, cold, judging some with disgust. Others with curiosity, none with warmth. He felt like a bug under glass. That night, Jace sat alone in his new quarters, if you could call a 5-room suite in a Crystal Palace quarters. The walls were made of living stone that changed color with the sunset. It should have been beautiful, but it felt like a cage. Kylara had left without a word after the ceremony. He leaned back on the alien couch and stared at the ceiling. "Well, Jace," he muttered, "you married an 8-foot-tall war princess who might hate you. Great job. Da-da-da." His translator earpiece buzzed. A message blinked on the glass wall. "Dinner banquet, royal hall, formal attendance required." Of course. The welcome feast Jacka arrived in formal armor, again gold and blue, with the Earth insignia across his chest. He felt like a child in Halloween costume, surrounded by models from a Sci-Fi magazine. Kylara sat at the head of the long table. Didn't look at him. Her posture was perfect, her expression unreadable. The food looked alien because it was. Glowing fruits, black cubes of meat, floating spheres that buzzed when touched. He stuck to the clear broth. Probably safer. The nobles around him spoke in whispers. Double quotes, ... so small. Like a child. ... How can she share bloodline with such a creature? ... Their minds are slow, even for prey species. He heard it all. The translator caught every word. They weren't trying to hide their hatred. They didn't see him as a person, just a symbol. A joke then, one of them Lord Krenthal, tall even for a Jarani, stood, and raised his cup. "A toast," he said, voice cold and sharp, "to Princess Kylara, for her bravery, to take such a fragile pet as her mate." Laughter, soft. Cruel Jace stood. His pulse was hammering. "With all due respect," he said, loud and clear, "if I'm a pet, then your empire must be in worse shape than we thought." Silence. Utter silence. Krenthal's eyes narrowed. The glow in them flared. Kylara stood up, before anyone could speak, before the tension could crack. Into violence she turned to Jace and slapped him hard. The sound echoed like thunder in the hall. Jace stumbled back a step, stunned. His cheek burned. Sharp metallic taste filled his mouth. He stared at her, wide-eyed. Kylara's face remained calm, but her eyes, for the first time, said something, not anger. urgency. She leaned. Don whispered so only he could hear her voice inside his mind. "You idiot. They were about to kill you." Jace froze. Later, in the shadows of the hall, after the nobles had left and the feast was over, Kylara found him standing by the glowing garden. She didn't apologize. "You insulted a bloodied high lord in front of the full court," she said. "Do you know what that means?" "I was defending myself." "No. You were starting a duel." Jace blinked. "A duel. In Jirani law, a public insult must be answered by combat, unless the offender is marked as under discipline. A mate's slap cancels the challenge. It shows control." Jace stared at her. "So you hit me to protect me?" Kylara looked away. "I hadn't, Krenthel would have drawn blood, and your blood would have stained the treaty." He was quiet for a moment. "Thanks," he said finally. "You were foolish, but brave." She turned back to him. "The court hates you. They hate me too, for choosing you. This alliance is paper-thin. It will not hold without care, and we should hold it," Jace said, "together." Kylara studied him. Ate her. Face softened just slightly. "Perhaps," she said. That night Jace sat in his quarters again. But this time, he wasn't alone. Kylara stood by the window, staring out at the stars. He looked at her and realized something. She didn't want this marriage either, but she was trying, and so would he, because maybe, just maybe, peace was worth bleeding for, even if it meant getting slapped in front of an empire. Jace Carter woke up to the sound of a deep hum vibrating through the floor. It wasn't an alarm. It was something else, something the Jirani used to begin their day. Their palace was alive, almost like a machine. The walls shifted colors from deep purple to soft blue as the sun rose across the sky dome. He sat up slowly. His cheeks still ached from the slap, but now he understood. Kylara had saved him last night. That single hard slap in front of the court had looked cruel, but it had stopped a death challenge from Lord Krenthel. In Jirani law, if a mated partner showed dominance by correcting the other in public, the offense became a private matter. It was clever. Brutal, but clever. He respected it. He respected her. But that didn't mean things were easy. Later that morning, Kylara entered his chamber without knocking. Her long silver braids were tied back tightly. "Come," she said. "Good morning to you too," Jace muttered, pulling on his boots. "We have work to do," she said. "You need training," Jace frowned. "Training in what?" "Survival." They walked to the lower part of the Palisa place the nobles didn't visit. It was a large chamber with walls made of black stone and a high ceiling. The air was cold. Torches burned with blue fire. In the center was a training ring. "I asked the Empress to grant me use of the war room," Kylara said. "You think someone's going to attack me again?" "I know it." "Nobles don't want this marriage. They don't want peace. They see you as weak, a symbol of Earth's invasion into their pride." Jace laughed bitterly. "Yeah, I noticed." She picked up 2 practice blades made of light metal and threw one at him. He barely caught it. "We train now," she said. "Fight me." Stared. "You want me to fight you?" "I need to know what I'm working with." He raised the blade awkwardly. "I passed military combat training." But she struck first. Fast. He barely blocked the blow. Then came another and another. Soon he was sweating, gasping. Kylara was fast, but controlled. Every move was precise. She wasn't precise. She wasn't trying to hurt him yet. But she wasn't holding back much either. After 10 minutes, he dropped the blade and bent over, hands on his knees. "Okay," he panted, "you win. You fight with heart," Kylara said. "But you lack form. Earth soldiers rely on guns. Here that will not help you. In the palace, battles are fought with words, blades, and tradition." Jace wiped sweat from his forehead. "Then teach me." Over the next few days, they trained in secret. Kylara taught him not just how to fight, but how to move like a Jirani. How to walk in a way that showed confidence. How to speak with strength. How to bow just low enough to show respect without weakness. At night, he studied the customs, the noble houses, their history, their laws, and slowly Kylara began to change too. She started to speak more openly. Her cold voice warmed. Sometimes, she laughed just a little. They shared food, stories, even memories of the war. Jace told her about his brother, who died on the first day of the skirmishes. Kylara told him about her best friend, lost in the Battle of Detail. We were enemies. She said one night, but war lied to both of us. They sat in silence for a while. Then she added, but you showed mercy on the battlefield. That is why I agreed to marry you. Jace looked at her. I thought they forced you. No, she said. Act. They gave me a list of humans. I chose you. The next morning, a message came. Invitation. Royal ball. All nobles required, human delegate expected. Kella's face darkened. This is not a welcome, she said. It's a test. Jace nodded. Then let's pass it. The royal ball was held in the Crystal Dome, a giant glass chamber at the top of the palace. From here you could see the twin moons of Jera float like pearls across the sky. Nobles, dressed in gold and silver, filled the room. The music was slow, strange, and haunting. Nothing about the scene felt joyful. It was like a funeral pretending to be a celebration. Jace entered beside Kylara. The room fell silent. All eyes turned to him, but this time Jace stood tall. He didn't hide. He walked with confidence, just like Kylara taught him. He even bowjust. Right, there were whispers, but no insults, until Lord Krenthal returned. He approached, holding a black glass of wine. Human, he said with a smile that wasn't a smile. Your kind learns quickly. I wonder, will you survive long enough to matter? Kylara stepped forward, but Jace held up his hand. I might, Jace said calmly, but I don't need to matter to you. Krenthal leaned close. Don't belong here. She may protect you, but the old ways will return, and when they do, Earth will burn. Jace met his eyes. We'll see. After the ball, Kylara was quiet as they walked back to their rooms. Then she stopped. You were brave, she said. Jace shrugged. I had a good teacher. She looked at him for a long time. I underestimated you, she said. So did they. Smiled. Good. Let them keep doing that. That night, he couldn't sleep. Something felt wrong. He sat up, checked his translator, and walked quietly toward the small chamber where messages were received. There, glowing faintly on the screen, was an encrypted file. Not from Earth. Not from the palace. It was anonymous. You are in danger. Someone inside the court wants you dead before the Unity Summit. Trust no one but her. Jace stared at the words. His pulse quickened. Someone is planning to kill him, and not just anyone. A traitor inside the palace. Jace Carter stared at the glowing screen. You are in danger. Someone inside the court wants you dead before the Unity Summit. Trust no one but her. The message repeated once, then vanished on its own like it had never existed. No name. No signature. Nothing. He sat there in the message chamber for a long time, his fingers frozen on the screen. Someone was planning to kill him. Not some angry noble throwing insults, but a real plot. Secret one. And the only person he could trust was Kylara, his alien wife. The next morning, Jace didn't tell Kylara right away. She was already preparing for the Unity Summit, which was only 5 days away. The summit was the first joint council between Earth and Jera. Leaders from both worlds would attend. Treaties would be signed. Peace would become permanent. Or it was supposed to. I need you with me at the summit, Kylara told him as she scanned several glowing maps and scrolls on her data wall. Not just as a symbol. Jace, you're my mate. That gives you voice, power, use it. He nodded slowly. Right. But his mind was elsewhere. Later that day, slipped away and found Tovelin, old Jirani's servant who had been working in the palace for decades. Tovel wasn't like the nobles. He smiled. He helped. And more importantly, he listened. Master Jace, Tovel said as he cleaned a metal sculpture of a war beast. You seem troubled. I need to ask you something. Off the record, Jace whispered. Tovel nodded. Has there ever been an attack inside the palace? Tovel blinked. Not since the last betrayal over 100 years ago. Why? Jace hesitated, then finally said, I think someone's planning something. During the summit, Taval didn't laugh or doubt him, just nodded slowly. There are always whispers. Some of the noble houses have old hatred in their hearts. They see peace as weakness. Can I trust anyone here? Only those who have something to lose if you die, Tovel said wisely. And only her. You mean Kailara? She may have been raised for war, but she fights for more than one. Pride now. She fights for you, even if she hasn't told you that yet. Jace was silent. He thought of her eyes, sharp and glowing like distant storms. Maybe Tovel was right that night. Jace told her everything about the message, about the warning. Kailara didn't get angry. She didn't yell. She listened. Then she stood up. Show me where you saw it, she said. They walked together through the halls, passing silent guards and glowing crystals. When they reached the message chamber, it was empty. Quiet. Kailara placed her palm on the control pad. Her fingers glowed slightly. She spoke in Jirani. The screen lit up, but there was no trace of the message. Encrypted. Hidden by expert. Hands, she said, eyes narrowing. Only someone with palace clearance could do this. You think it's real then? She looked at him. I think someone wants you dead. I think they're getting ready. Next few days were a blur. Security doubled. Kailara moved Jace into her own private quarters, closer to her and further from the noble wings. She didn't say why. She didn't need to. They trained more, ate together, slept under the same roof, and Jace began to see her not as an alien. Princess? Not even as a soldier, but as a person. Sharp, thoughtful, lonely, brave. He started to care more than he expected. One evening, 3 days before the summit, Kailara took Jace to the tower garden. It was a floating garden built above the palace. The air was warmer there. The plants glowed softly. The stars looked close enough to touch. I came here as a child, she said. When I was angry or sad, you get sad? Ace asked softly. She looked at him with a calm expression. I lost friends. In the war, I killed humans too, but now I'm married to one. Peace confuses people. Jace looked at her. Does it confuse you? No, she said. You confuse me. You fight without claws. Speak with fire. You're weak in body, but strong in will. You bend, but you do not break. He laughed. Is that a compliment? It is. They were quiet a moment. Then Kailara looked at him and asked, Would you have chosen me if they gave you a list? Jace didn't answer right away, but then he said, No list needed. I'd still pick you. She looked away, but her lips moved slightly just enough to hint at a smile. Then the garden exploded. The blast came from below. Fire, screams, alarms. Kailara pushed Jace down and shielded him with her body. Her armor flared with energy, blocking flying shards of glass. Within seconds, guards arrived. Kailara was already standing, her sword drawn. Who did this? She roared. Unknown, a guard shouted. The eastern tower is on fire, we believe. It was sabotage. Jace stood up, coughing. We need to get out of here, he said. Kailara nodded. They moved early. They wanted to kill you before the summit. She turned to the guard. Double the watch. No one enters the royal wing unless I approve it myself. Yes, your grace. Back in her chamber, Kailara looked angry and afraid. They will try again, she said. Maybe not with bombs. Maybe with poison or a knife in the dark. You must not leave my side. Understood, Jace said. She turned toward the window, watching the smoke rise in the distance. This is more than just hatred, she said softly. This is rebellion. Jace stood beside her. You still trust me? He asked. She turned and faced him. Yes, more than anyone. Then for the first time since their wedding, she touched his hand. Her fingers were cold, but steady. And Jace realized something. He didn't just respect her. He cared about her deeply that night. While the palace prepared for lockdown, Jace couldn't sleep. He got up quietly and walked into the message chamber again, just to see if anything else had appeared. Nothing, but then heard a voice. You're brave, Human. He turned quickly. A figure stepped out from the shadows, cloaked in black, face hidden. But the voice was smooth. Calm. Who are you? Jace asked. I am the one who warned you. I cannot protect you much longer. What do you want? It's a stop a war, the figure said. The traitors plan to strike during the Unity Summit. They want to kill both leaders. Ambassador and Kylara. Jace froze. They want to kill her too? Yes, to frame you. The treaty in blood. Jura will blame Earth. Earth will blame Jura. The peace will die. Tell me who they are. I can't. Not yet, but they're close. Watch the council. Trust your instincts, and protect her. The figure stepped back into the shadows. Wait. Jace shouted, but he was gone. Jace returned to Kylara, heart pounding. We were wrong, he said. They don't just want me dead. They want you dead too. Kylara looked at him, eyes sharp. Then we fight together. The day before the Unity Summit, the palace was a fortress. Guards in black armor stood at every corner. Energy barriers sealed off hallways. Drones hovered overhead, scanning for weapons, poisons, and cloaked threats. Everyone walked with tension in their shoulders. The air itself felt like it was watching, and deep inside the palace, Jace Carter stood beside Princess Kylara, his alien wife. Knowing two things for certain, someone inside the palace wanted both of them dead. The traitor was close, very close. Jace didn't trust anyone now, not the guards, not the servants.
Out.
Not even the nobles who smiled too quickly or bowed too deeply. He kept one hand near his weapon and the other ready to shield Kylara. You should not attend the summit. Kylara told him that morning. Let me go alone. It'll be safer. I'm not leaving your side, Jace said. We made it. This alliance together, we'll protect it together. She stared at him for a long moment, then nodded once. Then you must wear this. She handed him a small metallic device, an energy cloak hidden as a wristband. It could block a direct plasma shot for 5 seconds, maybe less. 5 seconds. Jace raised an eyebrow. Sometimes Kylara said, 5 seconds is all a warrior needs. As the sun rose, the palace was flooded with visitors' Earth, delegates, alien diplomats, high-ranking nobles. The great hall shimmered with banners of blue and gold. For the first time in centuries, Earth and Jura stood side by side without weapons drawn. Jace wore the formal armor of a Jirani prince consort, dark gray with silver lines. Kylara stood beside him in full ceremonial war robes. She was more than beautiful. She was commanding. Regal, a force of peace, carved from battle. They entered the summit together, the crowd parted, and the games began. The first speeches were polite. Careful words, flowery promises. Earth's ambassador, a woman named Juno Hart, spoke of hope, growth, and healing. The Jirani nobles responded with nods and hollow smiles, but Jace saw the cracks. He saw the cold glares behind soft words. Subtle movements. A noble who refused to drink, guard who never blinked. A servant who stood to still. Kylara noticed them too. They're hiding something. She whispered to him. Or someone. Jace's eyes moved across the room, then stopped on Lord Krenthal, the same noble who tried to challenge him on. The first day, he was standing too close to the ambassador, to calm, to ready Jace. Tapped Kylara's arm. Krenthal up to something. She nodded slowly. You won't act alone. Then the lights flickered. Just for a second. But Jace knew what that meant. The defense grid was breached. Kylara didn't speak. She just moved fast. With one hand, she grabbed Jace and shoved him behind her. With the other, she summoned her. Energy blade from her wrist. It crackled to life like lightning in her palm. Everyone down. She shouted. Too late. The attack came. 3 cloaked figures burst through the eastern corridor, their blades glowing red. One threw a plasma disc. Toward the Earth ambassador, another sprinted toward. Chaos exploded. Guards shouted. Delegates screamed. A drone burst into flames. Jace dove forward, grabbed a fallen guard's blaster, and fired at the assassin aiming for Juno Hart. The shot hit the attacker in the leg. Just enough to throw him off, Kylara met her attacker in the air. Their blades. clashed metal against energy in a storm of sparks. The third assassin leapt toward Jace. He ducked, rolled, fired again, missed. Then someone else stepped in, Tovel, the old servant. With a hidden blade, he blocked the assassin's strike and stabbed forward, quick, sharp, deadly. The attacker dropped. Jace stared. Tovel. The servant gave him a quick nod. Not all old men forget how to fight. The room was a battlefield. Kylara struck her, attacker down with a brutal spin. Jace saw her face, calm, cold, in full battle mode. This was the warrior he had heard stories about, but the danger wasn't over. One assassin was still alive, running toward the summit stage, toward the control panel. Jace's heart stopped. He's going to trigger the failsafe. The failsafe, a hidden explosive built into the summit in case of betrayal. It would destroy the entire hall. No one else saw it, only Gasu, so he ran. He sprinted past wounded guards, dodged falling pillars, ignored the screams. The assassin reached. The panel pressed the code. The lights flashed red. Jace tackled him. They fell hard. The assassin slammed a fist into Jace's ribs. Jace coughed but didn't stop. He grabbed the attacker's arm and slammed it into the floor. The code was half finished. Only one number left. Stop it. Jace roared. The assassin hissed something and Jirani pulled a hidden blade. Jace grabbed the wrist. Struggled, then Kylara was there. She stabbed. Downward dash once. The assassin went still. Kylara pressed her palm to the control panel, barked. A shutdown code in ancient Jirani, and the lights returned to normal. Silence. 10 minutes later, the attackers were dead. The hall was secured. Medics worked to help the wounded. Kylara and Jace stood together, breathless. We survived, Jace said, for now. But something still didn't make sense. Jace turned to the bodies. They didn't act alone. Someone let them in. Someone gave them the codes. Kylara nodded grimly. It's time we finish this. That night, the traitor made their move. Lord Krenthal called for an emergency private council meeting. Jace and Kylara attended, but brought no guards. Only Tovel stood at the door, inside the dark council chamber. The remaining noble leaders sat in silence. Today's attack proves Earth is a danger, Krenthal said. We must cancel the alliance before it's too late. Kylara stepped forward, and I say, today proves peace is worth fighting for. You arranged this attack, Krenthal. You gave them the codes. Krenthal smiled slowly. Do you have proof? No, Kylara said. But I do, Jay said. He stepped forward and pulled out a small recording device. The message from the shadowed figure played out loud. They want to kill both leaders. To frame you, to destroy the treaty. Right. Trust only. Her, and then a second voice, hidden until now, overlapping faintly. Kylara gasped. That's Krenthal. The council turned. Krenthal stood slowly, face hardening. I do not deny it. Several nobles rose, shocked. You admit to high treason? One asked. I admit to protecting our planet from weakness, Krenthal snapped. Earth will break us. This alliance is a mistake. You tried to murder the princess, Jace said, and me and your own people. Krenthal's eyes locked on Kylara. You were once a warrior, he said. Now you bow to a human. Kylara raised her blade. No, I stand beside one. Ow. With a single motion, she activated the ceremonial code of judgment. Guards poured into the room. Krenthal reached for his weapon, but it was too late. He was taken. Not just a traitor, but an example. That night, for the first time since Jace arrived on Jira, peace felt real. The summit continued. The treaty was signed. The alliance became law and Jace. He stood beside Caleron as a guest, not as a symbol, but as her equal, her mate. Later, in the quiet of the tower garden, she said, I didn't want to, Jace replied. She stepped closer. Why? He smiled, because I'm in love with the alien princess who slapped me in front of everyone. Kylara laughed a soft, beautiful sound. She leaned in and kissed him. The stars above Jera shimmered like diamonds, silent and eternal. Peace had been signed. The summit had ended. The assassins were dead, and the traitor, Lord Krenthal, was locked away in a prison that touched the sky. Jace Carter, the first human to ever marry into the Jirani royal family, stood beside his alien wife Kylara, watching the sky from the tower garden. But peace, as Jace now knew, was never quiet for long. 1 week later, the palace returned to its usual rhythm. Banners were taken down. The injured recovered. The guards stood taller now, more alert. Every corner was scanned. Every name was checked. But despite the calm, Jace couldn't sleep. He dreamed of the summit again and again, of the attack of Kylara. Bleeding of Earth's ambassador gasping. Even in victory, his mind held on to the danger. He'd never been a soldier, yet war had found him anyway. Kylara noticed. "You haven't touched your food," she said one morning at breakfast. JC looked at the glowing fruit on his plate. "I'm fine." She set down her cup and leaned forward. "You are not fine. You are shaken." He didn't answer. "You saved the summit, Jace. You saved me. But now, you run from your own memory." He looked up at her. "You're right," she nodded. "Then we face it. Together. Always." Later that day, Kylara received a message from the High Council of Jira. It was short and to the point. "You are summoned. Come with your consort. Bring truth." Jace raised an eyebrow when he read it. That sounds serious." "It is," Kylara said. "They want to judge our rule, our bond. They want to decide if the unity between Earth and Jira will continue. If they say no..." She was quiet, then replied, "Then we fight again, but this time with words." The High Council chamber was ancient, older than the palace itself. It was built into the side of the Skyfang Mountains, carved from stone, glowing with crystals older than human civilization. Kylara wore her royal armor. Jace wore the human Earth representative robes gray with silver trim. Together, they stood before the 12 council members. One by one, the council spoke. A thin female elder asked, "Do you, Princess Kylara, believe the human beside you is worthy of ruling with you?" Kylara answered without hesitation, "Yes." Another voice, deeper and colder, asked Jace, "And you, Jace, Carter of Earth, would you die for Jira?" He didn't flinch. "I already almost did. I'm still here." A few council members smiled faintly. An old male with silver skin leaned forward. "Would you give your bloodline to this world? Would you raise Jirani children? Half human, half alien?" Jace looked at Kylara. She didn't show fear, but she was clearly holding her breath. "Yes," Jace said. "If she'll have me, then I'll have a whole army of kids." Kylara choked on a laugh. The council looked at each other. Then the elder stood. "We accept this bond. Earth and Jera are one." And just like that, the hall erupted in glowing light. A symbol appeared in the air above them, 2 stars joining. One blue, one red dot. It was done. It was real. They were truly united that night. The palace held a celebration unlike anything Jace had seen before. Dancers floated on invisible platforms. Music filled the air, not with instruments, but with glowing sound waves. Even the sky above flickered with programmed lights, a dance of colors and hope. Kylara walked beside Jace in the main hall. They passed nobles, soldiers, and even humans who had traveled to Jera after the summit. Jace could hardly believe it. "I thought I was just a test," he whispered. Saleya raised an eyebrow. "What? Back when we first married? I thought they were using me, that I was some symbol." Kylara stopped walking. She turned toward him, looked him straight in the eyes, and said, "You were never a test. You were the fire that made the alliance real. You were the human who stood his ground when others ran. You became my partner when I needed one most." She leaned closer and whispered, "I never slapped those I do not respect." Jace laughed. "You slapped me hard. You deserved it." He smiled. "Maybe I did." As the party grew, a young Jirani child ran up to Jace. Her eyes were bright, her hair glowing in soft waves. Are you the human prince? She asked. I guess I am, Jace replied, kneeling to her level. Can you fly? Not yet, she frowned. Can you fight? Learning. She leaned closer. Can you love her forever? Jace blinked, then looked up at Kylara, who was watching quietly. Yes, he said. Forever and more. The child giggled and ran off. Kylara stepped beside him. You answered well, I meant it. Later that night, Jace stood alone in the tower garden. He looked at the stars again, just like he had before the summit. Before the attack, before everything, so much had changed. He had come to Jira as a stranger. He was now part of its royal family. A warrior in training, a husband by choice, a leader by fire. Kylara joined him a few moments later. She didn't speak. She just took his hand. They stood there, side by side, staring at the sky that held both Earth and Jira. Then Kylara whispered something he would never forget. The stars were once my only family. Cold, distant, silent. But now I have you. And you speak, and fight, and stay. That is more than I ever expected, Jace turned to her. I'm not going anywhere. But even as peace settled like soft wind over the palace, a message arrived deep in the night. It was sent from the edge of known space, encrypted, dark, urgent. Kayla read it first, then gave it to Jace. His hands trembled slightly as he read. A new enemy has risen, stronger than the old ones. Not just Jera or Earth is in danger. The galaxy watches. And you, human prince, must decide. Are you a husband, or are you a hero? Jace lowered the message. Kylara waited. He didn't smile. He didn't joke. He just said, I'll be both.